Something that I love about gaming, and particularly RPGs, are the minigames. Most minigames are designed to serve as fun little distractions that allow you to take a few minutes break from the story, but in some cases, the minigames outshine the core game experience and are even better than the game itself. And today I want to talk about my favourite minigames in gaming. I had originally intended for this video to be my top 10 minigames in JRPGs. I had around 20 JRPG minigames written down, but as I was trimming the list down to my top 10, I noticed that 9 of my top 10 JRPG minigames came from 3 franchises, and that wouldn't make for a very fun video. So rather than making a disingenuous list by imposing restrictions on myself by limiting franchises to a certain amount of appearances, I decided to expand the list to not just JRPGs, but to minigames in all of gaming, regardless of the genre. So let's dive into my top 10 minigames. Number 10. Motor Combat from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Mortal Kombat is not normally the type of game that I'd play. It's a game and a genre that I have very little interest in. It was always more of my brother's type of game. So imagine my surprise when I saw him playing Mortal Kombat one day and this bloody and brutal fighting game turned into a wacky and goofy kart racer. I love kart racers. When I saw this, my eyes lit up and I couldn't look away from the screen. Motor Kombat is about as bare bones as a kart racer comes. It has 10 characters to choose from, with each character having their own unique ability. Sub-Zero obviously has his ice attack, Scorpion has a spear, Raiden casts lightning, and for reasons I'm not sure why, Johnny Cage shoots acid. You've also got this fat, drunken, greasy, disgusting slob of a character called Bo Rai Cho. He's constantly farting throughout the race. His cart is made out of a keg which sounds like it's about to fall apart. He's drunk out of his mind and his special ability is puking on the racers behind him. I thought this guy was some kind of gag character created for this mode. I was shocked to see that he's actually a real character in the game. You've got 5 tracks to race on, but in an obvious Mortal Kombat twist, the tracks are filled with death traps keeping you on your toes for the entire race. Lin Kuei Raceway has icicles that can drop and kill you, Outworld Refinery has lava eruptions, the Lost Pyramid has pits and rolling boulders, and you can bump your opponents off the track and cause them to crash into walls and fatality them. My only real complaint about Motor Kombat is that it has the most disgusting levels of rubber banding that you'll ever see in a kart racer. The top 2 racers will be endlessly slingshotting ahead of each other every few seconds. It doesn't matter how big the gap between you is, it doesn't matter if you hit them with your ability, it doesn't matter if you cause them to crash and suffer a fatality. Every few seconds you'll be overtaken, and seconds later you'll overtake them. And if you press triangle to look behind you, you can even see the AI being given increased speed to ensure they overtake you. But despite the rubber banding, Motor Kombat is a lot of fun. I spent so much time playing this back in the day that I farmed enough coins for my brother to unlock a sizable chunk of the characters' costumes in the crypt. If NetherRealm or Warner Bros made a full-blown Mortal Kombat kart racer, I'd buy it, and it's the only Mortal Kombat game I'd ever consider buying. Number 9. Pazaak from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This classic Star Wars card game is incredibly addicting. Pazaak is blackjack with a twist, and I do enjoy a game of blackjack. The goal of the game is to get a higher score than your opponent without going over 20. The first player to win 3 rounds wins the game. Each turn both you and your opponent draw a card, but there's a twist. Each player builds a side deck of 10 cards, and in each game, 4 cards from those 10 will be chosen at random and be added to your hand. So instead of relying entirely on the luck of the draw from the dealer, you can play those 4 cards from your side deck to either add to your score or subtract from your score. You might have a hand of 17 and maybe you have a +3 in your side deck. You can use your +3 to lock in on 20. Or maybe you went over 20 and you have a minus card in your side deck. You can choose to subtract from your score to give yourself a fighting chance rather than taking the loss. But you can only play each of the 4 cards from your side deck once, so you have to play them carefully and at the right moments. Pazaak is the perfect minigame to burn a few minutes here and there and to break up your adventure. If you like blackjack, you'll love Pazaak. Number 8. Football from Ape Escape 2. It's monkeys playing football, what's not to love? This was the first time I ever experienced a minigame that I thought was better than the main game itself. I remember playing Ape Escape 2 and getting bored. I was on the verge of quitting and never playing the game again. And then I unlocked something, a football minigame. I dove straight into it and I was hooked. As soon as I saw all of the monkeys I had previously captured in the main game being playable characters in football, and all of them with different stats, it gave me the motivation I needed to finish the game. Not because I wanted to continue playing through the story, but because I wanted to play more football and I wanted more characters. This minigame is the only reason I continued playing and finished Ape Escape 2. The controls aren't great and my accuracy is a disgrace, but this minigame is an absolute blast to play. Every time the ball goes out of play for a throw-in, there's a chance it might come back as a regular ball, or it might come back into play as a special ball. It could come back as an extra bouncy pink ball that's harder to control, but it's worth 2 goals if you score with it. Or it might come back as a beach ball, which is bigger and slower with no bounce to it, but it's worth 3 goals if you score with it. Or it might even come back as a bomb that's on a timer, and once the timer runs out, it explodes and knocks out all of the players in its blast radius. There's 6 teams to play against, with each team being more difficult than the last one you played, and the later teams are hellishly difficult to play against. But I don't care if I lose 10-0, this minigame is great fun. Number 7. Pom Pom Party from Trails to Azure. This is a match 3 puzzle game. It's fairly straightforward, blocks fall in groups of 2 and you need to match the colours up into groups of 3 or more. If your blocks rise all the way to the top of your screen, you lose the game. The objective is basically to outlast your opponent. As you match your blocks and make combos, you earn CP, which can be used on special abilities like clearing rows of blocks from your side or adding rows of blocks to your opponent's side. Luckily, you can see what colour blocks you have coming up next, so it does allow you to plan ahead and attempt to build combos. It kind of reminds me of columns from the Sega Mega Drive. I'm sure there's a much better comparison, but I don't play a lot of puzzle games, so I don't know what the best comparison is. I'll admit, I'm not very good at Pom Pom Party, but I still love it and I still have a lot of fun playing it. Number 6. Cook-Offs from Suikoden 2. Suikoden 2's cook-offs are incredible, they're endless fun. You compete against rival chefs in cooking battles in an intense and wacky anime-style storyline. There are over 100 recruitable characters in Suikoden 2, and 4 of those characters are selected at random to be on the judging panel for each cook-off. You have to prepare an appetizer, main course and a dessert from a list of over 240 recipes, each of which your judging panel will rate out of 5. But each character has their own taste in food. Do you want to appeal to the judges' taste by cooking them food they love, or do you want to torture and poison them with Nanami's recipes? What do you make if you get a clash between Western food lovers and Eastern food lovers, or spicy food lovers and sweet food lovers? The combination of the number of recipes and the number of judges ensures that no 2 cook-offs will ever be the same, and it makes every cook-off fun to play. In truth, the only downside to this minigame and the only complaint I have about it is that it can't be played freely. This minigame is tied to its own side quest with a limited amount of cook-offs available per playthrough. Number 5. Tales of Tribute from Elder Scrolls Online. This game confused the hell out of me the first time I played it. The High Isle expansion had just released and I had just come back to the game from a nearly 2-year hiatus. It was the middle of the night and I was half asleep. I stumbled across this NPC voiced by Billy Boyd and naturally I had to hear him out. This man could have led me into an alley with the intent of mugging me and I still would have followed him. But he didn't mug me, he instead gave me a quest and I wandered into this game hall where much to my surprise was a brand new card game. I'm probably going to do a terrible job of explaining this, but here I go. There are 12 decks to choose from, with each deck having their own abilities and functions. The Grandmaster Hlalu deck focuses on coin build-up, the St. Pelin deck focuses on power, the Duke of Crows is great for building up combos and drawing extra cards per turn. And my favourite deck is the Ansei Frandar deck, which is very flexible in that the cards often give you a choice between coin or power each time they're played, but not to the same effect as the St. Pelin or House Lalu decks. Each player begins the game by selecting 2 decks. The 4 chosen decks determine what cards are added into the pile. Each turn you'll randomly draw 5 cards from your hand. In the early game you'll spend your turns playing coin cards and buying up new cards that grant you greater gold gains, which then allows you to purchase higher cost cards that provide power and combos. You generally don't want to buy too many cards or you'll bloat your deck and you'll never draw the cards you need, but you also don't want to leave good cards on the purchase table or your opponent might snag them up. The goal of the game is to build up 40 prestige before your opponent. You gain 1 prestige for every 1 power you end a turn with. Alternatively, you can win by gaining the favour of all 4 patrons, which you can do by meeting specific conditions. Gaining the favour of a patron also grants you benefits. Some can be passive benefits like gaining gold per turn, while others can be sacrificing a high cost card in your deck to gain its value in prestige. I could spend a half hour sitting here and discussing Tales of Tribute in depth and still not fully explain everything. Many people find it to be an overly complicated game and they refuse to play it. But once you wrap your head around the rules and learn how to play, Tales of Tribute can be very addicting. Plus it offers some nice rewards like crafting materials and house furnishings when you win. Not that the house furnishings do me any good, as all of my houses and my castle have been empty ever since I bought them. Number 4. Bind and Divide from Bravely Default 2. This is a brand new entry on my favourite minigame list. I only just started playing Bravely Default 2 in the last week. I have around 20 hours in the game so far, and at least 5 of those hours have been spent playing Bind and Divide. This minigame has absolutely blown me away and I can't put the controller down. This is a minigame that I see myself pumping countless hours into. Bind and Divide has actually been the highlight of the game for me so far. Not that I'm saying Bravely Default 2 is a bad game, I'm very much enjoying it, but this minigame is amazing and I dare say it's even better than the game itself. Bind and Divide is a card game of control and strategy. Each player builds a deck of 6 cards. These cards can take over squares horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The light green square shown on the card is the space you'll occupy, while dark green squares are spaces you can either occupy or destroy an opponent's card if placed over. You can flip an opponent's card to your side by surrounding it with your own cards, and you can even flip over entire rows of cards if you're lucky enough. Then you've got special cards like the job cards and character cards. Job cards usually occupy small spaces, but they provide buffs like strengthening varieties of cards like beast and insect cards, or can even hinder your opponent by not allowing them to play a specific card type on their next turn. These effects and benefits are usually one-time bonuses. And then you have character cards, which provide permanent passive effects on the board by permanently strengthening or nerfing cards of certain varieties. By nerfing cards, I mean they could remove the dark green squares, restricting a card to occupying only its base light green square, or by buffing the card they could add an additional square that it occupies. The objective of the game is to control more squares on the board than your opponent does after you've each played your 6 cards. There are 4 types of rule sets available. The base rule set is no keepsies. This one offers the smallest point rewards, but you won't lose a random card if you lose a game. In the first past the post rule set, you can win the game by being the first person to occupy 15 spaces on the board. This one gives you a small points bonus. The wipeout rule set allows you to win the game on the final 2 turns by reducing your opponent's occupied squares to 0. This one gives you a little extra points bonus. The wraparound rule set is my favourite. Normally, if you place a card on the edge of a map and its effects extend beyond the map, you normally lose those extra squares. But the wraparound rule wraps the effects of the cards around the board. So if I place a card on the right side of the map, and that card places 2 additional squares to my right, instead of not gaining the benefit of those 2 squares, they'll now appear on the left side of the board. This rule set adds a whole new layer of strategy and it gives you the largest points bonus. You can exchange all of the points you've earned from each game to purchase cards from your opponent's decks. I've only just started playing Bravely Default 2, but Bind and Divide is very addicting. And once I spend some more time with the game, I think there's a possibility that Bind and Divide might even jump up an extra spot or 2 on my list and take the number 3 or number 2 spot. Number 3. Read Upon from Suikoden 4. This simplistic mahjong-like tile game is one of the most addicting minigames I have ever played in my life, and I have spent just as much time, maybe even more time playing Read Upon than I have playing Suikoden 4 itself. This is my absolute favourite Suikoden minigame. There are 41 tiles in play, with each player having 8 tiles. Each turn you draw 1 tile while discarding 1 from your hand. The objective is to collect 3 sets of 3 tiles before your opponent does. You can complete a set by having a 1, 2, 3 of the same colour, 3 of a kind of the same colour, or by getting 3 elemental tiles. Each player starts with 10,000 points. Each tile has its own point value, and certain sets can have a higher or lower value than others. You can even customize tiles by swapping out the characters on them, and each character has a certain value depending on if they're assigned to a 1, 2 or a 3. This allows you to create very high value sets or potentially very low value sets. If things aren't looking good for you, you can try to press your opponent into collecting the low value sets to minimize your losses. When you win a round, the total value of your sets are deducted from your opponent's points and added to your own. However, this being a Suikoden minigame means that they have of course added some quirks to the game. Elemental tiles aren't just high value sets that you can form, they also function as spells that you can cast. A fire element tile can destroy a random tile from your opponent's hand. The wind element flips over a random number of your opponent's tiles, hiding them from their hand but revealing them to you. The earth tile casts a protective barrier on your tiles, making them immune to the effects of fire and wind. The lightning tile allows you to draw 3 additional tiles instead of just 1, while the water tile allows you to draw a tile from the discard pile. However, unlike the standard number tiles, of which there are 3 of each tile, only 1 of each element tile exists in the pile. This adds an extra layer of strategy to the game. Do you want to hang on to the elemental tiles for the small chance of creating a very high value set? Or do you use the spell to give yourself an advantage over your opponent? This is easily one of the best and one of the most addicting minigames ever made, and I have never not had fun while playing it. Number 2. Triple Triad from Final Fantasy XIV. What kind of minigame list would it be without Triple Triad? This is not just one of the greatest minigames ever made, it's one of the best card games of all time. Triple Triad was originally introduced back in Final Fantasy VIII. You build a deck of 5 cards, and both you and your opponent take turns placing a card down on a 3x3 grid. Cards have numbers on the top, bottom, left and right sides. In the base rule set of the game, if you place a card to the right of your opponent's card, and the number on your left side is higher than the right side of your opponent's card, you flip the card and it's under your control. Or if you place a card under your opponent's card, if the number at the top of your card is higher than the number on the bottom of your opponent's card, you flip the card. Whoever ends the game with the most cards under their control wins the game. But that's the base rule set. There are other rule sets like Random, which doesn't allow you to select your own cards, as the game chooses 5 cards for you, or the Open rule set, which allows you to see what cards your opponent has in their hand. There's a whole bunch of others which I won't get into, but why did I say Triple Triad from Final Fantasy XIV and not Final Fantasy VIII? Triple Triad in Final Fantasy XIV has a lot more rule sets. The Chaos rule set selects what card from your hand that you have to play each turn. The Fallen Ace rule set changes the value of aces from 11 to 1. The Ascension and Descension rule sets increase and decrease the value of cards by 1 every time a card of the same variety is played. And on top of all of those extra rule sets, the Final Fantasy XIV version of Triple Triad contains a significantly larger card count which covers all of the games in the series. This makes for far more interesting and fun matchups. Except for the plus rule sucks. I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of additional math while I'm trying to play and relax. I had to actually take a step away from playing Final Fantasy XIV and cancel my subscription because I was addicted to playing Triple Triad. A couple of years ago there was a period where I'd done nothing but play Triple Triad every single day for about 2 months, and I was getting absolutely nothing done, so I had to quit playing the game. Triple Triad is far too addicting. And finally, number 1, Blitzball from Final Fantasy X. You knew this was coming. I know this is a controversial pick, as Blitzball is not only the most divisive minigame in the Final Fantasy series, but it's also the most divisive thing about Final Fantasy X. Blitzball is the Marmite of minigames. You either love it or hate it, and I love it. I love Blitzball so much that in my teens I accidentally ghosted my girlfriend because I was so engrossed in playing Blitzball that I forgot to check my phone, and I hadn't read or responded to her text for days, and she broke up with me. She said it was my loss, but who's the one with Wakka's overdrive reels and celestial weapon? I'll give you a hint, it's not her. Blitzball is a strange mixture of water polo and football played underwater. This is not just a minigame, this is a game in and of itself. There are 6 teams, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. The Guado Glories, for example, are fast with great passing, but they're physically weak, and the Ronso Fangs are slow but very strong. As you travel the world and encounter new characters, you can sign them to contracts to play for your team. Players all have different stat growths. Some players might start out amazing, but they quickly fizzle out and become bad. And others might start out terrible, but gain huge stat growths in later levels. But it's not just you that'll be signing new players. The AI will also be releasing their players and trying to sign new and better players, so the teams are ever evolving and their lineups are continuously changing. I have lost track of how many times I've replayed Final Fantasy X, and I've spent more time playing Blitzball over the years than I've spent playing not just Final Fantasy X itself, but the entire Final Fantasy series, possibly with the exception of Final Fantasy XIV. In every single playthrough I've ever done of Final Fantasy X, I've spent at least twice as much time playing Blitzball than I have playing through the game itself. I don't care if I have to save the world, let Sin run wild and do what he needs to do. I've got Blitzball to play. Even now, over 20 years later, those of us who love Blitzball are still crying out for a standalone Blitzball game, which tells you just how much fun those of us who loved it have while playing it. And when Blitzball inevitably gets added to Final Fantasy XIV, I will happily dive headfirst back into my 14 addiction and lose my entire life to Blitzball. So there you have it, that was my top 10 minigames list. What do you think of my choices? Do you agree or disagree? Do you want to yell at me and call my picks terrible? What would your top 10 list be? I know there's a notable omission from my list that you may see on just about every other person's list, and that is Gwent. I've never played it. I loved The Witcher 1 and 2. I tried playing The Witcher 3, but I gave up after about 4 hours as the game just wasn't clicking with me, so I never got to experience Gwent. And before I wrap it up, I just want to give quick little honourable mentions to Chocobo Racing from Final Fantasy XIV, Monkey Wars from Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, and the Antiquities from Elder Scrolls Online. They were on the edge of being included over Motor Combat, Pazak and Ape Escape Football, but they just missed out. Anyway, that was my list, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm off to play some more Blitzball, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.